Hey, it's Ken again from Ken's Small Church Tech, and today I'm going to be talking about another camera that I've picked up. And actually, this one here is the 4K PTZ camera from FoMaKo. Happens to be the K30NS, and that 30 is important because this is a 30x optical zoom camera. PTZ camera has HDMI, NDI, SDI, 4K, and just is a super all-around good camera. The AI auto tracking, they call this the third generation of the AI auto tracking. But again, this is FoMaKo 4K camera, and this comes with all the standard FoMaKo extras. You have a power source. Here's a power source there. The other end of it. You have a way to control it. So this is a serial cable for controlling it. It does come with a mounting, a wall mount, and some screws for mounting it to the wall mount, screws for mounting it to the wall. HDMI cable. I'm going to show you how to use the HDMI cable to get yourself set up, especially if you just brought it out from the factory. And then a very nice book, user manual on how to use it. Also comes with a cap for the camera, and I'm actually using the camera right now, so I'm going to show you that in a moment. But that's what it comes with. So the big thing is it does come with that wall mount and all the other things that you need to go with it. So if you get this camera straight from the factory and you get it and you want to hook it up and you plug it in, and if you're doing like what I'm doing, I'm using it with an ATEM Mini Extreme, which is a 1080p switcher only, you might have problems being able to see anything with it. So don't plug it directly into there initially. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to attach this to a computer so that you can downgrade it to 1080p. So a good chance that it's going to come factory set to 4K video. So what you do is you're going to take this USB cable. This is what you're going to attach it to the camera. Attach it to the camera, then bring that over into your computer so that you can use the joystick, or excuse me, you can use the remote, which also comes with it, and be able to set up your video output to 1080p instead of the 4K. So I'm already set up to 1080p, but I'm going to show you how this works and how you will need to do this for your initial setup. So give me a moment. I'm going to plug this in and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back and I have this plugged into my laptop here, and I'm going to bring that screen up for you to see it. Okay, so once we have this set up, plugged in here, it's plugged USB is coming into the TV here, or into my computer here. And I'm going to bring up the camera app, and so this can be either the camera that's on that's actually built in. Okay, and so this is the actual camera coming directly off. So this is coming in as a webcam. So once I have it in here as a webcam, now I can point the remote at the camera and bring up the menu. And there's the menu. And so the first one of the first things on the menu here is video format. So right there, about halfway down, is video format. You can see I'm already set up on the 1080p, and that allows me to actually see it here. But normally what you're going to have is you're going to be set up in the 4K P30. So instead of 1080p 60, this is 4K P 30, so maximum is 4K 30, and that's where it would be normally set. Just come down here to the first one, 1080p 60, or whichever version you want, anything below 4K, and it's going to go into my ATEM Mini Extreme, and I can then see it through my video switcher. So if you have a switcher like this that does not take 4K, you go through this step in order to get it. Once you have that, you can disconnect the USB cable and you can talk directly or work directly with your switcher. All right, so that's just setting up so that you can see this on your switcher. So I'm going to flip back over here, and once again I'm on using the HDMI now out coming into the switcher, and that's what you're seeing me on. So let's take a look at this particular camera, and I'm going to switch over to one of my other cameras that I have up on my wall up behind me, and there it is. So what we see here is the FoMaKo camera, and the FoMaKo camera is again just a 1080p or excuse me, a 4K FoMaKo camera. This one has the flat base, so there's some of them that have the round base that's a lot taller. This one's flat, a little bit shorter, but it's wider here, so you're going to have to decide where you're going to put it, whether you need this size or the other. So this is a very popular FoMaKo style. You'll see this quite often in all their other ones. I have one of the early FoMaKo cameras that I was using came exactly like this. This is what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this around on my tripod here so that you can see the back, and I'm going to disconnect the HDMI or the USB so that you can see the back of this particular camera. And let's see if I can zoom in just a little bit further. Oh, that's as far as it's going to go. All right, so the back of the camera looks like this. What we have over on this side over here, the left side, we have a mic in and a line in so that you can bring in audio. This does not have any kind of microphone on it. You have the USB out. That's what I was just showing you, 3.0. And that is something that you can do. That's an input that you can bring video out directly into a computer as a webcam. Right next to that is a USB-A point for USB recording. So you can plug in a USB thumb drive and be able to record directly to the thumb drive. Right next to that is HDMI, so that's how my video is coming out right now. Next to that is SDI. So HDMI can go up to 4K. SDI maximum will come out as 3G SDI, which is 1080p, and that's automatic. So we could have gone through SDI if you have an SDI receiver and can use that. Right next to that is for the serial cable, so that you can control the computer. Next to that is the Ethernet input, and this is how I'm powering this is how I'm powering the camera, and it's also how I'm controlling the camera. Next to that is your power source if you need one, and then an on-off switch on the other side of that one. So that is the FoMaKo camera. This is again the K30NS. So one of the things that you have to do when you are in there looking at the menu. So one of the things you can do when you bring up the menu, you can come down to where it says network, right below the video format, bring up the network, and you can see on your screen then what my IP address is. So DHCP is on right now, so that allows the router within my network to give it a IP address. I'm going to turn that off. There we go. Once I turn that off, I can come down to the next one, and the IP address is 192.168.7.225. So I'm going to plug that into my laptop. And once I plug that into my laptop, I get the login screen. If you haven't logged in and changed it, it's going to be just admin, admin. And again, it recommends you change it, which I will do at a later time. And then again, once we're into our web interface here, and as we look at the web interface, we can do several things with it. So we can configure this, and we can come over here and we can configure a lot of things. So here's where we can also set the video out. You can set up the Ethernet. Here's the web address again, NDI. We can set up NDI, whether we want this to be NDI HX enabled or not, HX3 enabled or not. We can choose all these different things here. All right, so it's showing me time synchronization, showing me good system user. So this is where you can change your admin password. We can do an update. If there's an update for it, we can go back to factory default, and then you can just reboot that from here. So it's just like turning it on and off, or off and then on. You can set up the audio configuration where you can choose the line in or mic in, and whether it's enabled or not. You can choose all of this input. You can put an input up volume, so you can make sure that you have a little bit higher volume coming in, and this just allows you to do all of that right here. All right, so I can also go over here to monocular tracking, and that's one of the things I want to be able to use with this, because it is a camera that can reach out a little bit further and set up that monocular tracking. So you can see that I can actually monitor it right here, and I can work the whole tracking from right here. I don't need to use the PTZ controller. However, this PTZ controller is considerably easier than trying to use the PTZ controls on here. Those buttons are just slow, and it pulls back quite, it takes a while for things to happen. Now, once it's set up and you have presets set up, you can hit presets here, and that does a pretty good job of getting it to where you want to go. You can also turn on and off the tracking. You can change it from a presenter mode, which is following an individual, to a zone, and you're tracking in the zones. You can click track. If you're doing presenter mode and you have multiple people walking across there, it will be confused, and it'll put a box around. It'll think it's following the right one. If you want to switch, just click on the box that is around one of the other individuals that it's coming across. The body position, where do you want the body? Where do you want to be looking? Whether it's half or close up, which is more upper part, or half the body or the full body, and it'll back out the zoom to be that kind of a location. So basically, how much of a zoom is going to be on the individual. Your AT speeds, or your PTZ, basically your auto tracking speeds here, your sensitivity, placement. Where are you in the window? So if you put this placement left or right, you're going to allow it, and as it's tracking, let me just hit the turn of tracking on here. Okay, as you're tracking, notice how it moved me to the left half of the window. And this is really convenient when you're doing picture-in-picture and you have two people up there, and one of them is in a picture-in-picture, but you want the other person to just simply be on the other half of the screen. Then you can do this, where you don't have to worry about whether I'm in the middle or in the wrong place. It's going to put me on the left, or it's going to put me on the right. If I go to the right here, and this will allow you to allow there to be a picture-in-picture over here, but I'm still on the other half and I'm not taking up a space. So there's several there's several video switchers that do a picture-in-picture, but not a whole lot can do what's called super source. This allows a simple super source to be used without having to move me over to one side or the other. I can stay basically where I'm at, and it'll put me left or right. So that's kind of convenient. The headspace, basically how high the top of the picture is from my head. I'm at the top 8/10, so below me is about 8 parts out of 10 for the picture, so I'm at 8/10. If I want to be in the middle of the picture, so my head is in the middle of the picture, I can go to 5/10, and now I'm at, you can see how the picture comes down here. Here, I can bring this over here. And so now you can see how I'm actually at the top of my head is about halfway down. So if I change this to be more along the lines of 6/10, it'll move me up a little bit. Not much there. Let's go to 7/10. It'll move me up a little bit more. And you can see how I just keep moving up in the picture. And if you go to, let's go to 8/10, which is where it starts out, you can see now I'm closer to the top than the bottom, but you can set me up to where it's most comfortable for the picture or the person you're tracking. So coming back here, you have tracking tips. You can turn on and off. Human frame. What is it looking for? What is it tracking? It's tracking a human frame is what it's looking for, and tracking. Auto zoom, auto tilt are on. Lost reaction, it's going to stay put where it's at, but you can change that also. You can change that to go home whenever it loses, and it'll pick up from from wherever home is for it. Preset location, you can set that also. And then you can go to the regional settings or the zone settings. So this sets up the different regions so that you can track within that, and I'll probably show that in a different video separate from this one. So those are all the things that you can do with tracking with this. Down here you can see the regions down here if you're set up at the bottom of the camera. So that's what this would be doing for you as you go about setting this up for tracking. All right, so let's see what this looks like as I move around. So I'm going to turn the tracking on. And now the cool thing about this is I have this set up so that I can turn the tracking on and off with my PTZ controller. And again, that's going to be in a different video, but it's in the manual what you need to do that. So if you read the manual, or if you have a manual for the controller, like I said, this KC606N that we have, FoMaKo controller, works great, and it does that. So I'm going to just simply go like this. And it's tracking. So I'm able to turn that on and off right here on the controller, and it tells me that it's tracking, and I can turn the tracking off with simply dialing with a quick dial of one of the knobs on the controller. So we got the tracking on. So I actually need to change my camera just slightly. So I'm going to turn this off for a moment. I'm going to move my camera out in front so that it's looking this direction. And then I'm going to turn it on. And let's see if it picks me up. And it does. So here I am. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to grab the remote, and I'm going to move out here. Now, when I demonstrate tracking, one of the things that I have a problem with is making sure it's actually doing the tracking. So I'm up here in front. I have my remote. That's how I'm going to control it right now. And I can tell it to turn it on and off as it's tracking me. I also have my iPad. So let me turn my iPad on. And the reason I have my iPad is this is an NDI camera. It's sending out an NDI signal all the time. It's already on. It's already working. And it's basically sending out that signal all the time. So I have an NDI monitor on my iPad. Since my iPad is in the same network as the camera is, I can bring up a NDI monitor, look at the sources. I got 2 cameras right now going NDI in here, and I can bring up the track, and I can bring up a picture that camera is showing me right now. It's a little bit of a delay from the HDMI. It's not because it's connected directly, and that's fairly normal. But I can kind of keep a track while I'm talking to you about the tracking. I can see that it's following me on my camera. So as I'm tracking, this is going to track me across the church, and it's going to keep me the same zoom basically. It's going to keep my head at the same location. It's going to keep my face in the same part of the screen as long as it keeps me in its picture. And so I turned around and it lost me there for a minute. That was kind of interesting. So as I was talking to you, I wasn't paying attention. I turned around, I turned my back to it. That time it kept up with me. So it's not perfect, and I haven't seen any of these that have been perfect. This was pretty close. All right, so it's going to keep me in that same area, so that same place. Now if I turn off the tracking using the remote, which is just hitting the F1 button down at the bottom, you can see that it's no longer tracking me, and I just left the scene. If I turn it back on using the remote, it still doesn't have me, so it's going to sit there, and it's going to try to keep track of me, or it's going to be looking for somebody to track. So it's going to then pick me up and going to continue. So this allows you to basically keep one camera, for instance, on Pastor as he's walking around up here, and if you lose him for a minute, it'll wait for him to come back into that zone or into that screen and pick him back up again. I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing here. When I'm looking at the screen, it's pretty close to on, even with the NDI, but it's, NDI then goes through Wi-Fi, then goes through wireless. So there's a lot of things going on here, but it works out pretty well. Now if I turn this tracking off, once I turn the tracking off, then I can control it manually. So I'm going to turn this off. You can see it's no longer tracking me. I can then control it manually. I should be able to control this manually. There we go. Just had to get close enough to the angle that I needed to see the picture. But you can see I can do that. Now because I have a PTZ controller back there, I can control it manually from back there and turn it on and off. And so it just is pretty handy. Now I turn it back on, and now it's going to pick me up, and it's going to start tracking me again where I need to be. So the auto tracking works great. It tracks really well. It allows you to pick different zooms coming in by how much of the body you want to show, and so it will simply move up to that place and that location. And you can see as I come in and out from basically coming, got these big lights over the top of me, I brighten up a little bit, and you can see how it kind of washes out. Well, I got a big huge light up above me. If I move out of there, obviously it has a hard time changing from all those things, but it's still, you can see and get what you want out of this. So one last thing about the monocular tracking. If I'm using the remote for monocular tracking, I turn that on, and you can see how it shows up on the HDMI input. If I am using the PTZ controller and I turn it on or off, it does not. So there's nothing to remind you so that it is on, other than the fact that it starts to track if it's not exactly centered. Once I turn it off, it's still not on and off. So that's one of the big difference between using the remote versus using the PTZ controller. I kind of like that because I can turn it off while it's actually tracking and while we're actually using it for recording. And because it doesn't, on the controller, it doesn't leave that little tip on there, you're good to go. You can make those adjustments as you go at that point. So A lot of really neat things about this camera, and I'm learning more as I go, and that's the whole name of the game. Learn how you're going to want to best use this. Right now I have it on a tripod. I plan to put it on the wall in the back of the church, and we'll see how that goes. Until next time, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share, and then hit that bell so that you get notified when I put up another video. And by all means, have yourself a great day, and God bless.